Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Sepideh, for being here with us today and showing the film and talking about the film. It's impossible to separate the work from meeting Fatma. And I wanted to hear a little bit more. I mean, it's clear in the film how you met, you were introduced by someone in common, but I wanted to hear from you a little bit more about where you picked her, if you were aware of her work as a photojournalist before you were introduced. And it, you know, she's nearly like a co-director for the film. Her presence is so incredible. Intelligence also really shines through. And I wanted, to hear a little bit more from you about meeting her through the distance and letting her influence and inspire how you were developing the film as you were working.
I had heard that she was a photographer. That is what our common friend told me when I was living basically with a Palestinian family, young students who were, whom I was filming in Cairo when I got stuck and I couldn't go further. And one of them talked to me about her, about Fatem, and so I saw her photos on her Insta page, and I knew that much. And the idea was that she would share photography and images, her images with me, and then I would tell her. And I had prepared myself in a way to meet someone whom I didn't know, and you think, okay, long distance call, how it will be. I had anticipated, that I wanted, this was a decision that I had made already, that I wanted to film the conversations, all of it, because I knew there would be unique moments that you could not recreate. I knew the fragileness of the connection, that it might be any time, as I say, and it's true, you never knew when she would be able to connect again. But when she connected and we were face to face, you saw it, you saw what happened. Something really happened in that moment between us. I think it was mutual. And I mean, something shaped very quickly in the relationship, and it was clear that, so I didn't meet any other people, it was her, that was it. And I think she opened up to me very quickly, and then she shared with me a lot of her photos. I explained to her what I wanted, and she said yes to all my demands, and then we started going on from there, and she sent me hundreds of photos very quickly, as much as she could every time, because there were always connection problems, and then that's how it started.
On that note, since you're talking about her work, like, where are the photos now? Like, are the photos like showable or shown somewhere in?
Well, there are a few exhibitions that are going around the world in different countries. Okay. A book was just published in France with about 100 of her photos. So I worked with the publisher. Part of the conversations came from the film, other texts, and her photography. It's a monography dedicated to her work. I do not have all of her photos. Some are still scattered, some other people have it, but I have several hundred, and so yes, I try to do as much as possible with them.
Obviously, you had to adapt all the time because of the connection, because of the distance, and unpredictability of what would happen on a daily basis. Did that change at all? Or you were going to like structure your film, and the next encounters, or you were, you have to take it day by day at a day?
Yes, it was. I had to take what was coming, meaning the possibility. Anytime we would exchange on a daily basis, like several times a day, but text messages, audio messages, or voice messages that she would send me, or I would send to her when it was not possible to do a video call. And as soon as she would tell me, okay, I can connect, then I would call her and we would go on for, I don't know, an hour and a half, But just to understand, like they were often lacking electricity, connection also. So for a video call, she would have to walk about 45 minutes, sometimes more, to a stable connection spots, and then only and that would mean that she would have to come back. It shouldn't be late in the afternoon when the day would night would fall because it would become dangerous. It couldn't be too early in the morning either. So there were lots of things that she had to take into consideration. I had to adapt. So basically I was ready. During the hours I knew she would possibly be connected for any moment that she would let me know that, yes, we can talk. And then I would call her. And I would be ready filming, and this was our moments. Like I would go to a quiet place, and then we would just talk. But it didn't happen every day, because though we were in touch, sometimes the connections were just cut because, well, Israel controls the whole telecommunication system. So anytime they really want to cut it, they cut. And in a general, as a base, the connection debit is 2G only in Gaza. It has been blocked to 2G by Israel. So in any case, it is a low debit by default. And so, yes, this was there. And then all I could do was just to wait for her to tell me yes. And then we would start. We could do what
It's amazing documentation of the situation and of a person. And she seems so alive and so present. And, when she started talking about depression towards the end, you like the entire time you're thinking like, how can you be such an optimistic, hopeful person? And then it's like, how can you struggle and still do this? Were you able to talk about this a little bit more, like earlier? She's always like smiling, and so like she makes you believe in humanity, really. She was really remarkable this way.
And in resilience, or it's far beyond, resilience is not strong enough as a word to express what she was doing, and what many of the Palestinians, go through. I don't know if you've heard of this other film called Yalla Parkour, which is about the Palestinian parkour team from Gaza. All that they do is just 10 times, 100 times more to achieve the same thing that we do. It's 100 times more difficult for them. And so when they reach, as she was saying, when you reach your goal, there's always a wall in front of you. And so you reach and you don't reach. That's what how she was describing. And it was a constant thing, and the discussion. I wouldn't ask her directly, frontally, like upfront, do you feel depressed? And I did at that moment, because I really felt that there was something much stronger than before. But usually we would talk, more about the act of documenting the genocide, keeping hope, things that we shared, like a book. I know that I talked to her about Lee Miller also, and the experience of war photography for a woman, and she didn't know Lee, and she said, I want her book, and I bought the book, and I was supposed to give it to her, and well, I will be keeping it. But we shared a lot, many things that, and the Shawshank Redemption that I haven't seen. I still haven't seen it.
You haven't seen it? Oh, no.
I think I can't bring myself to watching the film. I have to at some point.
I did watch it after watching this.
Yes.
And I kept thinking about her while watching the film.
I know, every time I think I have to see it, and then, well.
We'll do a projection in our memory.
My daughter told me about it. She told me that she knew the film, of course.
It's you seem like a perfect person to do a film like this because of your background as a political person and as a documentarian and filmmaker. Were you able to show at all on this, like some of the work you've done with her, because she has a whole knowledge of the world, but maybe not specifically of what you've done before and the way you worked also?
You see, this was a very strange thing. I have a feeling that she kind of left the film to me. She didn't want to know more about my other films. Never asked. It's strange, because she could have asked me. It would have been natural only to ask me, can I see your films? Never did. And very quickly after the first conversation, like early May, I had a few minutes edited, because the editing process I started practically simultaneously. Like within 10 days, I started editing also parallelly. And so the first bit that I edited, which was the second conversation, I sent to her. I wanted her to see it. She never watched it. I don't know why. I thought later, because I asked her 2, 3, 4 times, and then I was like, maybe she doesn't want to watch it. Perhaps to preserve herself from something. I don't know.
She's not an actress, so maybe
No,
she doesn't want
maybe
to
she
look
was
at
afraid of
herself,
seeing her own, image, perhaps. And so we were supposed to watch the film together, of course, when she would come here, out of Gaza. And
You're still in touch, you mentioned at the introduction, with some of her family and extended family, so they follow your trajectory with the film and the continuous discussion, but they're still all in Gaza?
Her mother is in South Gaza now. She's moved out of North because, as I said, North is really practically. It was always difficult to live there, but now it's really. I just heard the neighborhood that Al Tufah is the name of that neighborhood where she lived and where our common friend lived, and his brother, Ahmad's brother, just wrote to me this morning. He said, "I just heard that our whole neighborhood has been detonated, and we just hope that our house is still there, but they're gone, so they don't know anymore." It's like it is I don't know how to describe it. It's just waves of devastation after devastation after. Like what you saw here and the last traveling, the long video that ends the film almost. This is last summer. So imagine what has been done since and what is left now, if this was last summer. So, but yes, I am in touch, and with her best friend as well, the aunt of the 2 kids, Sahar and Hussam. They are her family is now in South. She herself is still in the North because there was no car to travel with, so part of the family has left, other part, and the cat, they have a cat also, the cat is still in the North. It's, I don't know, yes, and every hour can be the last one, you never know when you will hear from them. And the crazy thing is that you ask them, the last message I got from her mom, I said, so the messages get shorter. You feel that there is still, less and less energy because she usually writes a few phrases, and the last message was, "I'm good, thanks," and "thanks God." That was it, just 2, short. But it's things that are full of love. Like a few days ago, she wrote to me last week, I think, "If you're fine, I'm fine then." Things like that. And you can't imagine how can a person in this situation write something like that. Plus, it's in Arabic. I translate and then I answer her. She doesn't speak English. But no, I understand a bit, but I don't speak.
You speak many languages.
Yes, I'm on my way of learning, but it's.
I think also one of your intention in the film is to show resilience and survival, because we not immune to what we see on TV and films and images that are constantly showing destruction. But you keep wondering, how long can it go on, and what people do in a daily life, and what sort of survival is possible. And that's also something that you were showing in the film. We get so fascinated by her presence and the way she's speaking and her intelligence that sometimes you forget, but it goes, in and out from her to what's happening behind her. But it's a constant question. It's like, what do people do on a daily basis to survive, to eat, to go out? And that's something that you were originally thinking about.
Yes, and the amazing thing is that she had such a degree of expressivity, or I don't know if I could call it like that, that through her face and her expressions, you could read what was going around her, because that's, hors champ, what was out of the frame around us. There was the soundscape, which is this amazingly horrible, war sounds all the time, and all you hear there is the real sounds that she sent me or that I recorded through the conversations. Nothing was added, has been added, I mean, no effects and all. So, meaning that these people live day in and day out with quadcopters and helicopters and blasts and fire belts and, you know, all sorts of very aggressive and anxiogène, I mean, sounds around them. And the only thing that sometimes amazed me was like, I would hear the birds, and then I asked her, these are the birds? And she said, yes, there are still birds here. And, you know, sometimes you could still hear the birds. But I mean, life is really slowly going away. And the thing is, yes, her face and her body, I mean, was like a territory. You could feel, you know, the horror outside on her face somehow. Even with the smile, I mean, the shade of her smile would change from. And so, yes, I mean, it was well. You saw the last series of photos that of that kid cleaning, you know, the blood and flesh with water, and that's, I think, the most horrible things that I've ever seen. And knowing Fatem, I mean, knowing what she would take, it means that she really, you know, must have made a tremendous effort to do this kind of photography, because her photos were very different usually. And when I saw the photo, I couldn't believe my brain kind of refused to analyze the fact that this kid was washing, you know, human flesh with the water, and how can possibly anybody, I mean, a child, do that? And then she told me, this is the rest. I mean, he was the only survivor of the attack. The rest of the family died, and this is his own family. And I mean, it was like, so I felt that I had to show it, you know, but you feel it. I mean, you feel that there's something so atrocious beyond the image. I think that this is what happens in the film, that through her and through her kindness and her smile, and we are in a bubble, but you can feel the rest, you know, even though you don't see it exactly, except for this moment, which is the only moment of the film.
I mean, you showed her work earlier. She showed a little bit how she was photographing before the war and how it changed throughout. So she was also a really, really talented artist, no matter what happened. And it's
a great poet also.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really, really beautiful. Maybe we can take audience question, and we have some microphones, I believe. Yes, there's someone here, and a microphone is coming to you.
Thank you. Thanks. I have two questions. One's easy and one's maybe not easy. I don't know. Number one, well, first of all, thank you for your film, obviously. We get so little visually since no journalists are allowed in. How did you, this is a technical question, did you set up a tripod in your living space to film yourself doing the recording, or did you have someone with you? That's question number one. Maybe you just answered it. Question number two, do you think she was targeted because they knew that the film was going to be premiering? And then I'm just wondering how you managed that psychologically.
Question number one, it's a handheld, meaning the phone, which was the base, the connection base, was on a little stick or holding, you know, against my computer, but mainly with a stick. And the other phone I was holding in my hand and moving, you know, depending on what I wanted to do. Usually I was focusing on her face, and then sometimes I moved around. Very simple, basic. And also I need to say that all the framings that you see in the film were done while filming, meaning I didn't change the frame in the post. at all. So all the zooms that I do on the TV and eventually, you know, were my direct interventions while I was filming it. She was targeted. There is a study conducted by Forensic Architecture, the NGO, London-based NGO, that is public. It was published on May 14th, briefly a month after she was killed, and I really invite you to find it and read it. It's 15 pages. The conclusion is clear. It was a target. The Israeli army claimed that they targeted a Hamas member. Many people asked them, please give the name of the Hamas member you were targeting. No answer came. So, and they said also that they took the precautions, enough precautions so that there would be no collateral damages, which is totally not the case. I mean, we couldn't be further in, you know, eradicating a whole family. And the way they operated, I'm sorry, it's gross, but I have to say it. It's like, because I kept days of, and I will come to your question, spent days thinking, how could two missiles meet in one apartment if they were shot from two different places? How did they target I mean, how could they do it like physically, or how calculated, what calculations were made? Basically, it's a drone that came to that building and the missiles were dropped, but they were programmed not to detonate until they reached the second floor. So they knew where they were living, and the missiles went through 3 floors without making damages, just small holes, and this was done thanks to images that were filmed by a local team for WDR, which is the German TV, who did an interview with me, and they wanted proof on there. And they hired, I saw it afterwards, I didn't know that also. And this was accessible to forensic, and they therefore were able to do the ballistic study and conclude clearly that it is, I mean, and it was clear that obviously when it, you know, the blast, when you see it, that like the concrete columns are curved. It was such a huge blast. And so I don't know whether they knew about the film, whether when the selection was announced, they decided to do that within 24 hours, or whether it was planned because she was a photographer and she was becoming more and more famous. And there are 2 interviews that are quite important in Arabic language that she did with Al Jazeera and AG+, that I discovered afterwards, where she clearly talks about herself documenting the genocide with a camera in her hand and you know, facing the journalist. And so every time I ask myself if they wanted to erase the film, if they wanted the film not to exist, wouldn't it be easier to hit me, or to, you know, to find a way to hit the hard disk, something, you know? Why her? Because the film was still there. So it's just, you know, I keep asking myself that question, and I think until we have the archives of IDF Tzahal open and we learn who made that decision, I will not know. We will not know. But I think most probably it's because of her I mean, as a, you know, her work as a photographer. To this day, I think we're beyond 300. This figure goes up very, I mean, quickly. 2 weeks ago, I heard it was 304 journalists, and I'm sure it's, you know, it goes up by the day. So, and they do that also in Lebanon, also in Syria. So it's not only Palestine, but of course, in the Palestinian journalists are the major targets.
We have time for a final question. I always look this way, but I think there's someone here. Yes? Sorry.
Thank you for your film. It seems to me, watching it, that there are 3 timelines going on at the same time. Of course, there's Fatim's story, the story about resilience, someone on the ground. You have Israeli war crimes, white phosphorus, collective punishment, deliberately targeting civilians. And you have the complicity of Western governments in all of this. You contextualize Fatim's story with some of these current events. I'm curious, when you were editing it, it seems to me you could have made this much bigger with all these themes I'm talking about. How did you decide when to use current events as part of the narrative?
The decision to use news excerpts was there from the beginning. In fact, I was filming the TV even before I met her, and I kept filming like compulsively in a way. This was what triggered actually my decision of going there, because I felt, as I said, I was touring around the world with the Siren, which is my animation film, and I would change city and change channels and languages, and it was always the same kind of thing, not mentioning the Palestinians, and just talking about figures and casualties and not figures, numbers, and so the decision to keep the news excerpts was there from the beginning, but the balance between these two timelines, as you mentioned, I wanted to give a maximum of space to Fatim's words and her presence, and I didn't want it to be counterbalanced by the news. I just wanted to date the film, basically. This was my intention, and primarily because with time we do forget. This is less than a year after the end of our episode, let's say, and the war is still on, but we do forget. We do forget the first ceasefire, which never even was born. It was aborted. The second ceasefire, which held 2 months barely, and now we're talking about it. And it's important to have these moments. And I think after that, the audience, the viewer, gets the trigger and goes and finds out. So the main body for me is her story, and of course her photography was also the third one, I guess you wanted to mention, and that timeline was also very important. That came at a later stage. So when I put our conversations in a shape that was coherent for me, and it was chaptered by the news excerpts, then her photography came in several blocks to basically finalize the thing.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here. And the movie will open next month.
Thank you.